Hello everybody.
Hello.
Welcome to Trail Talk. We are here in our Chuck Wagon Theater, and I of course am Miss Mary, and we are joined here today with Miss Maria.
Hello.
So we are here live with you at the Chisholm Trail Heritage Center in Duncan, Oklahoma. We are going to be talking with you guys today about some fun animals and some fun facts and trivia, if you will. So we're going to start off, we're going to actually start today, we're going to be talking about the skunk, our little black and white furry friend right over here that Maria is holding a pelt or the fur of one. And then we're also going to be talking about the raccoon, which they kind of have similarities between the two. They kind of have similar stripes in the fact that they both share that look to them. They're both striped in nature. So we're going to start off by talking about our stinky yet fun little friend, the skunk. So Maria has, like I said, a pelt here in her hand. This is simply the pelt. So what that means is just the fur and like the skin of the animal. The bones and insides, of course, have been removed. Now, it doesn't smell. A lot of people are afraid that...
No, it does not smell.
It doesn't smell. Okay, we probably would not be touching if it smelt. Personally, do not like the smell of skunks, but it does not smell, even though it was once alive and I'm sure had its fair share of sprays. The one here on our table that has been stuffed and resides in our animal diorama here at the Chisholm Trail Heritage Center, he is also smell free. He's kind of posted up here. Now, skunks are what's called an omnivore. Now, you've probably heard of the words carnivore and herbivore, and in fact, we probably even mentioned before the word omnivore. So the word omnivore means that they eat both plants and vegetables and meat. So they eat pretty much anything that you put in front of them. They're not strictly meat eaters, and they're not strictly vegetable plants type eaters. They like to eat things like fish and clams and insects. They also enjoy fruits, vegetables, lizards, and bird seeds, but in suburban, rural, like city type living, they will also eat garbage. And we're going to talk more about garbage when we get to the raccoon. It's fun stuff. Now, they are also, the skunk is a part of the weasel family. I'm sure you guys have heard of weasels before. They can vary in color. Now, around here, we're used to just seeing black and white skunks. I don't know, have you ever seen a skunk that's another color besides black or white?
I know that Wild Oklahoma, it's a rescue, and they kind of take up injured animals. I know that they have had albino.
Yes, there's
before.
albino.
I've seen that, but never in person or even at a zoo.
Right. I guess there are skunks in places that can vary in from black and white to even like a gingery red color, and like Maria said, they can also be albino, which like pure white in color. Interestingly enough, they're all striped from birth. Now, there are about 11 different species of skunks. Let's see, do we have that picture? We will get a picture for you here in just a second, but there is a photograph that we have of all the different types of skunks. So there's the spotted skunk, there's the hooded skunk, there's something called like a pig-nosed skunk. So a lot of them have the same characteristics, just their colorations are different. Of course, the spotted skunk has spots. They are generally about the same size of a cat or a dog. So about 15 to 37 inches long is what it says, and they weigh anywhere from 1 to like 18 pounds. So an 18-pound skunk coming at you, I'd probably run the opposite direction.
I think I would too.
I don't think I'd hang around to actually weigh to see if he really weighed that much, but 18 pounds is a pretty good size skunk. Now, they are nocturnal, which I think we have mentioned on here before. So nocturnal, again, means that they're active at nighttime. So a lot of you kids, if you're watching right now, you're probably just a little bit nocturnal. You're probably going to get back on your sleep schedule because school is about to start. A lot of us are going to go back to school next week. Yes. But nocturnal means you're active at nighttime and you sleep during the day. So in fact, you might actually be asleep right now if you're going to watch us later on Facebook. Their habitat, so habitat like where they like to live, places they like to live. The skunk is pretty much adaptable. They can live pretty much anywhere that will have them. Now, an interesting fact about them is that they will not generally travel any further than 2 miles outside of their habitat in order to find food or water. So what that means is if you see a skunk, more than likely where they are living is not too far from where you have seen them, because they just don't travel that far.
Do they live in groups?
They do, let's see, their group sizing, they will live in, the females are more apt to live together than the males. Now, an interesting fact about the female-male thing, the females are the primary caregiver. So when they give birth, the males pretty much have no part in raising the kits. That is what the baby skunks are called. And mom will carry the kits for about 66 days. So roughly 2 months. About 2 months is how long they stay pregnant, if you will. Now when they're born, they are born blind and deaf. So they can't hear anything and they can't see anything. And it takes them about 3 weeks before they are able to open their eyes, and it takes them about 2 months before they're actually weaned from their mother until they're ready to mate. But they usually stay with their mom for about up to a year before they actually leave their mother's side. And like I said again, the male has no part in raising the young, which I think is kind of strange. The mom just takes them on and raises them, and the dad's just more or less there for the breeding part of it. The pelt, like we said right here, this is what's called a pelt, the skin or the fur. You know, you don't usually see people on the side of the road selling furs, do you?
No.
Not around here. I don't think it's very common much anymore. They were once a really valuable commodity, if you will, in the fur industry. Nowadays, it's not quite as much. A lot of the times, if you see a skunk in the daytime, a lot of the times people say, hey, that thing's got rabies. They are known to carry rabies. In fact, that is one of the major things that takes their lives, is because it is fatal to the skunk. But what do you think actually kills more skunks than any other thing out there?
I would say vehicles.
Vehicles is the #1 answer. So us drivers, us people out there, human beings out on the road, are the ones to kill the skunk more than any of the predators, which include dogs, coyotes, owls, and bobcats. So those owls can just swoop down and kind of scoop them up with their claws. We've talked about the great horned owl. That's one of the main predators to the skunk. Now, we all know that the skunk sprays. That horrible, nasty smell that stays with you for days. If you've smelt it, you know you've smelt it. It's nothing that you will probably ever forget.
No. Anytime.
But that is their last line of defense. They will give you some warning signs before they actually do that. So if you watch carefully, which again, if you're like me and you see a skunk, you're not going to hang around for too long, but they will give you some warning signs that they're going to spray. They will stomp their front feet, and they will make kind of a hissing, growling noise. They will lift their tail, and then they spray. So if you ever see that tail lift, you better just run the opposite direction, because that spray is not just smelly, but it's very powerful. It can come from the skunk's body, if you will, up to 12 feet. So they can shoot that stuff to defend themselves up to 12 feet and still hit their target. So we measured a little bit earlier because of the distance, 12 feet. So right now with
social distancing
and how we're supposed to be distancing ourselves, that's about 6 feet is what they recommend. So double that is 12 feet. So what we did, it's from the corner of this skunk right here, or the table, and all the way back to that back corner at the end of the chuck wagon back over here directly behind us. That is 12 feet. So if the skunk here was alive and was startled or threatened by us in some way and shot, and we were standing back there, we would be directly hit by that skunk. We would probably not be welcome back to work for a while.
One of the things that when a skunk does spray, it sprays with accuracy. So it's aimed. and it is accurate up to 12 feet, although it could spray up to 20. And that's when they can see. If a skunk is blinded or cannot see what their target is, they actually do a plume spray, like
Stink bomb.
Yeah, like you would think like an atomic bomb. So it's more up and around in a cloud to give it a chance where that predator would have to go through it to come after them.
And that spray can also, it can blind, temporarily can blind the predators, like say a bobcat. If that was to shoot into their eyes, it could temporarily blind them. Let's see. I thought this was interesting. They only carry enough of the chemical, that sulfury type smell chemical, for up to 5 to 6 sprays. So it says about 15 cc's, and it would require about 10 days to reproduce enough in order to be able to boom that cloudy nastiness again once they have exceeded that 5 to 6 sprays. Now, we've talked about things that likes to eat the skunk, or predator prey on the skunk. The skunk is actually the main predator to the honeybee, which I did not realize either. The thick fur of the skunk helps to protect the skunk from all of the stings from the honeybee. So they like to go in there and they'll scratch at the hive, and they like to get the bees. I think we've talked about they have an excellent sense of smell, which I cannot imagine being able to smell that much and very well after smelling themselves all day and all night. But like Maria said, their vision is very poor, and at night it's even worse. They're generally not able to see any more than 10 feet away from them. Let's see, I think we've covered that. Their lifespan. So a lot of the times you do see skunks dead on the side of the road, and even if they're dead, you still smell them, right? Mm-hmm. Sometimes miles before you even actually see the skunk, you're smelling the skunk. They can live in the wild for up to 7 years, but generally only about a year is about how long they live in the wild. But in captivity, because you can have them as pets, they can live up to 10 years old. Now, again, having it as a pet.
So to have it as a pet, what do most people do?
Most people you are able to take the skunk, you would have it immunized, out the testing and the shots and things, and then they can actually take out that gland that produces that foul-smelling odoriferous chemical spray. So they're able to kind of defunk their smell, or defunk the animal itself. They still kind of emit a musk, kind of like any other weasel, like a ferret would, but the actual spray is inhibited. They're not able to do that anymore. So you're able to keep it as a pet. And like I said, they can live up to 10 years if you have them as a pet. And I've heard of some people having them as pets, and they seem to enjoy them. I don't know if I would enjoy a skunk as a pet. If you guys think you would enjoy a skunk as a pet, if you have one, you need to let us know. Maybe next time we could have you guys on, and you can come bring us your skunk.
Yes.
You never know.
I've known a few people that have had a pet skunk, and they're all named Pepe. Pepe Le Pew. I just think that pretty much the most common name.
If you have one, that's their
Yes.
born given name. Now, like we said, you can have them as pets. Now, that's only in 17 states in the U.S. is it legal. Not every state in the U.S. is it legal to have one. And I thought also here, I did in my research, in the UK, the Animal Welfare Act of 2006 made it illegal to remove the scent gland of the skunk, but you could still have it as a pet.
I bet
That
pet
sounds
ownership-
backwards. I bet it declined.
It's very sharp decline, probably pet skunk ownership after that act.
Again, just seems backwards to me. Like, why would you want that and have to have I don't know. We don't live in the UK. So anyway, we're going to move on now to the raccoon. Now, the raccoon has stripes similar to the skunk. Now, the raccoon here that we have, again, another pelt from a animal. This animal has the stripe down the back, and then they have the ring tail. So the raccoon, there's about 7 different species of the raccoon, And there is one that is actually on the endangered list, and that is the pygmy raccoon. They are on average 8 to 20 pounds, which that's a pretty good size raccoon, 20 pounds. Males are usually heavier than females, and they are anywhere from about 16 inches to about 38 inches long. So that one, let's see. We measure this one real quick. This one from tip to tail is about 32 inches long. So this is about an average size raccoon here that we have the pelt of. Now you do see here we have some stuffed or taxidermied raccoons that we have on display in our animal diorama. This is kind of more of an action series display. So it's kind of like a mom and her cub here. So this is not quite probably as big as this one, but they are still the same in characteristics where they have the rings around the tail. And then here we have a very vivid picture of a raccoon. One of the most common characteristics and things that make a raccoon stand out, what?
Its mask.
Its mask. They are pre-equipped with a black mask like Zorro. I always think of Zorro when I think of a raccoon. Or a little bandit. They have little hands too that kind of look like human hands. They have real slender fingers like a human hand. Their black masks, they say, the thesis on the black mask over time is that it enhances their ability to see at night. It's kind of, they said, like a baseball player that puts the black under their eyes. It helps to diminish that sun and things and the reflections in their eyes. And 90% of their fur that the raccoon has on them is actually under fur. So it's really, they have several layers of the fur, and it's strictly just to help keep them warm.
I wonder if that's why a lot of people would keep it to repel water.
It's a good water repellent pelt. That was kind of a mouthful. Water repellent pelt. Their habitat, the habitat of the raccoon, they prefer moist woodland areas, but can actually adapt to pretty much anywhere. Farmlands, suburban areas, urban areas. They like to live in fallen trees, holes in trees, people's attics. You guys may have had a raccoon or two in your attic. You may have had a raccoon or two in your trash can. We do like to tell the story. We have a big dumpster, of course, out in our parking lot. And of course, back behind us, we have the wooded areas. So time to time, we do get raccoons in our dumpster, but we don't realize it till we take the trash out. Now, if you guys have ever driven by, sometimes you might see a big stick out beside our dumpster. Please don't throw our stick away. There is a purpose to that stick, because from time to time when we lift our lid and look in there, there might be a raccoon that has gotten in there to eat the garbage, to eat our trash, to eat you kids' leftover lunches. But it's gotten in there and can't get out. So the purpose of that stick is we leave the stick in there so it can crawl its way out when it so decides and feels like it's safe to do so.
So we give it an escape route.
Yes, we do. It's a fire escape, if you will, but more like just an escape. They are like little bandits. They have little hands like humans, makes them dexterous. They are, let's see, the raccoon, a group of them, it says, is called a nursery or a gaze, and they can contain up to about 30 of them in a grouping, but usually just more like around 4. Now, in the winter time, they don't hibernate. They do what's something called torpor, T-O-R-P-O-R, and that is just a state of physical or mental inactivity. So pretty much they just zone out.
I think I might have some raccoon.
I do some torpor.
Yes.
Daily.
I do too.
Yeah, I like to torpor. It's a good, fun word to say too. It allows them to stay asleep and wrapped up in dens for the winter period. So they don't actually hibernate, but they do just kind of check out for the winter time. They are also omnivores. So again, they eat meat and plants. They also enjoy nuts and grapes, apples, berries, acorns. They also can eat peaches, plums, figs, pretty much everything. They have adapted to eat trash. So if they'll eat trash, I say they'll eat anything.
I did speak with a woman this morning who has pet raccoons. They're about 4 months old. And she says one loves Doritos. That's their favorite is Doritos. The other raccoon, which they're named Thelma and Louise, and Louise has more of a, she's more of a strict dieter, but the other one is
Watching her figure.
Watching her figure is more about the junk food.
Yeah,
Junk
kinda
food
like kids.
is preference.
Yeah. Well, junk food, it tastes a lot better, in my opinion.
And the one that eats junk food is actually the lighter of the two. It only weighs 4 pounds, and the healthy eater weighs 8 as of right now.
Can you imagine what she'd weigh if she indulged?
I know. Yes, exactly.
Maybe that's why she's trying to take some off. Maybe she's on a diet plan. They're also nocturnal animals. So nocturnal, nighttime. They're active at night. They're solitary. The only social groups you will find in a raccoon family or anything like that is the mother baby situation and her young. You won't really find a group of them housing together unless it's the winter time. Usually it's just the mother and her young. They don't actually just travel in or live in groups or social settings like that. They're fast. I did not realize until I read this, they can reach speeds up to 15 miles an hour. So they're going to outrun me for sure. That's on the ground. Now, they can also, I thought this was pretty interesting, they can withstand a 131-foot drop and still remain unharmed.
Wow.
So it's kind of like a cat. If you've ever seen a cat fall, they always say a cat lands on its feet. Well, I guess the raccoon, I'm not sure if they actually land on their feet, but they can land and not be injured, which 131 feet, that's quite a little drop. They're excellent climbers and swimmers. But like I said before, if they get in a dumpster, they have to have something to climb out and hold on to. They just can't climb up on a slick dumpster surface. They mate between late January and early February. So during those torpor type months, they will usually have between 1 and 7 cubs, and they will have those in the early summertime. And the babies will usually spend the first 2 months or so living with their mom. They live in the first 2 months higher up in the tree or a higher setting, and then after those first 2 months, then the mother brings her young down and starts to teach them things more on the ground. So they spend the first 2 months of their lives up protected is probably the reason why they're. They are pregnant, or their gestational period is for about 63 days, so that's similar to the skunk as well, about 2 months. And the mothers will give birth about once a year, and again, they raise their kids on their own. So once the dad's job's done, the dad's job's done, and the rest is on mom there. The lifespan. Now, it says there has been one known to live a max of 16 years in the wild. 16 years. And the captive record was 21 years. A 21-year-old that was probably in a zoo or something type setting lived for 21 years. But the normal lifespan for one living in the wild is about 3 to 5 years. Predators are about the same as the skunk. So you have your coyotes, your wolves, your owls, and cars again. They're out at night. Personally, I can't see real well at night. Raccoons are out hunting. They're trying to forage. They're trying just to live their lives, and along comes a car on an interstate going fast, and the raccoon, even though they can travel 15 miles an hour, really don't stand a chance. But they do have excellent vision as opposed to the skunk. They can make over 50 different sounds with their mouths to communicate, to let other raccoons know, hey, I found something, or hey, there's danger. They hiss, they purr, they growl. And they have extremely, like I said, human-like hands. Now, have you ever seen a raccoon where it looks like they're like licking and washing their food?
Yes.
Okay. There's a reason for that. Their front paws are very sensitive, and they get even more sensitive when they're in water or when they are wet. So if they do that, it's not necessarily to wash their foods, it's to make their hands more sensitive so they're able to grip or able to do things better, and that's why they do that, which I thought that was really cool. They have 5 fingers on each front paw, and they can climb down a tree head first by rotating their hind feet 180 degrees. So they can kind of turn them sideways and crawl down like that. Now, they're a very smart animal.
I would agree that they are very smart. I have had many pictures of raccoons on a deer feeder at night,
Mm-hmm.
and they can work those very, very easily.
Yep.
And I've seen them work those 5 fingers climbing up.
Right. Yeah, just like a kid.
Yeah, and spinning.
Yeah, different. They can actually remember one task up to 3 years later. If they've learned that one thing 3 years later, they're still able to remember that. They have a very high mammal IQ. The raccoons, their behavior. Now, their behavior can be unpredictable. So, therefore, it makes them kind of dangerous. They're not always a predictable type animal. One danger from them is the same as the skunk, which is rabies, as well as they do carry other diseases. I mean, we're talking about an animal that pretty much they live off garbage if they're in city type settings, and so you just never know where these animals have been. So even though we're talking about these animals furry and playful, don't ever try to approach one of these animals or take them in as your pet until your parents or they have been checked out, anything like that. The fur of the raccoon was also something that was valuable back in the fur trade days. In fact, it was a status symbol and a method of payment in the 19th and 20th centuries. Now, this guy right here, we have a lot of different state, like our state bird, our state drink, our state anything. If you think of it, we have a symbol for that. Our state fur bearer is our raccoon. He is one of our state symbols. And you guys have probably heard of the name Christopher Columbus. He actually has a tie to the raccoon. He was the first person to ever have any written history on a raccoon, which I think is pretty interesting. Now, the reason we're talking about these animals today, it's not just because we think they're cute and furry and fun to talk about, but these are animals that the cowboys could have ran into on the Chisholm Trail. We said earlier they're nocturnal, so they were awake at night. The cowboys usually slept at night. So the danger with these two animals being active at nighttime when the cowboys were sleeping, the cattle were trying to sleep, was that these two animals could easily cause a stampede, and those things were dangerous. The smell of a skunk easily would spark a stampede. The raccoon hissing or screaming or crying, those sounds that raccoon can make was easily something, again, that could cause a stampede. So that is how these animals tie into the Chisholm Trail. These are animals that the cowboys may not have always been familiar with, but once they ran into them on the trail, they never forgot. And we can still find these animals around today. I mean, these animals are very identifiable. They have characteristics and markings that make them just, you know what they are when you see them. I'll put it that way.
Yes.
So that is everything. That is a mouthful and a whole lot of information that I've just shared, that Maria and I have shared with you today. If you guys have any questions, hopefully we can answer them, but what you can do is you can just unmute yourself, or you can type it there in the chat box, and we will do our best to answer your question. All right. I don't think we have anything. We did good. No questions. We covered it all. Probably not, but we covered enough. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, our next trail talk, which is set for tomorrow, we're actually going to be taking a break. So we will not have a trail talk tomorrow at 3 o'clock. Our actual next trail talk, we're going to throw you for another loop. It's going to be on Tuesday. So our next trail talk will be Tuesday, the 11th, right here, 3 o'clock, and we will have more animals to talk about. In fact, Miss Edie is going to be interviewing Mr. Nathan Mackey, the Snakes on the Plains guy. So, get ready. Snakes.
Oh.
I think I'm going to leave that one for Miss Edie when she comes back, because
she's a lot braver than I am.
She's a lot braver than both of us probably put together. So, Miss Edie, you have snakes next week. We wish you good luck with that. We will be here to hold your hand when you get done.
From afar.
Right. Yeah. From very far. But if you guys don't have any questions, you guys know that you're welcome to come see us anytime. We are open. We are open 10 to 4, Tuesday through Saturday. And if you guys want to unmute yourselves, we will sign off with our happy trails. So if you guys will sign off, unmute yourselves. And 3, 2, 1. Happy trails.